With age comes wisdom, experience, and a whole lot of unexpected changes. Welcome to Dad Brain, where two best friends share their journeys through the ups and downs of their 30s. Get ready for the raw and honest realities of growing older. Here are your hosts, Matt K. and Matt L.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dad Brain Pod. First, I want to call out my co-host over here, Matt L., an esteemed graduate of Eastern Michigan University. Go Hurons! Or
That's
Eagles.
right, baby. That's right, baby. A graduate. I actually did walk across the stage and get my diploma. Unlike my co-host right here, who is proving once again that you do not have to be athletic to be a golfer. It's Matt K., ladies and gentlemen.
I thought you were going to say proving once again that you don't have to graduate college to have a good life. What a douche.
I'm getting Don Vito vibes from you today. I don't know what's up. I've been watching a lot of Viva La Bam lately, and I just imagine you just doing a bunch of shots on the golf course and speaking gibberish. Blah, 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 blah.
I've been doing pretty good, keeping my drinking down. I'm trying to play a good game. You know, back when I first started golfing, like 15 years ago, I just got black the fuck out drunk the whole time. Now I'm trying to, be decent.
Sean, why is it so hard to believe anything that Matt says?
The key word was trying. First of all, he's trying.
I taught you how to swing a club. Fuck off.
Fair enough.
So, again, we need to introduce our guest, the first return guest, Sean J. over here. Sean, did I have to blackmail you to get on here twice, or what's going on here? I mean,
I really hate to say this out loud, but I actually enjoyed it. So wasn't overly difficult for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to lend him my USB mic so that we can have him as a hot call-in on our other episodes. So we can just phone him in.
He just starts calling in under different voices and aliases.
He'll be our agent in the field.
Let's go to Stuart with the sports section. I love that idea. No, but I think this just speaks to the quality that Dad Brain is putting out there, right? That Sean just felt so compelled to come back on here and bestow some more wisdom. Sean was holding the crown for our most viewed episode. And I know he's a little salty about it.
A lot of salty.
So he's here to take back the crown, if you will.
To knock Thomas off the throne, huh?
Unreal.
So
that was so.
We're actually going to be doing a live pod in August. You're going to be here in August, right, Matt? We're gonna carve out some time. So, Sean, if you want to come with that, I think I also have our other friend Josh a little bit interested, working on that a little bit. So we might do a little round table. And then I'm going to be vacationing in Traverse City with Thomas, and I'm going to bring the studio with me. We're going to pack it up. So we're going to do a Traverse City episode, I think. Some more northern Michigan.
Taking Dad Brain on the road. I've been watching this new show this week because when you are a dad and you have a newborn that sleeps for an extended amount of time, you get caught up on a lot of TV. It's called Yellow Jackets. Have you guys heard of Yellow Jackets?
No.
Yeah, so it's on Showtime, and it's about these girls who are on a soccer team, and they crash a plane, a private plane, kind of like Lord of the Flies vibes. But the reason I bring this up is because they start going crazy from eating a bunch of shrooms, and they start seeing visions. So my vote for the live pod is shrooms. What are your thoughts?
I'll do it, but as somebody who has read a lot about them and never tried them, Mom and Dad, you don't see visions when you eat shrooms, so.
Wait,
but
you just said you haven't tried
them.
You said you haven't tried them, though.
I told my mom and dad I haven't tried them.
His fingers are crossed. Yeah.
We'll be wearing diapers and sucking our thumbs.
Should we just
hey
go
guys.
out in the woods? Should we do the podcast from the woods?
We're going remote. But no, yeah, the live episode's going to be great. I love how I get to experience a little bit of Michigan and have a nice little in-person conversation. I mean, we haven't seen each other in person for almost a year, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since your gender reveal party for Miss Maisie. So
that's right.
I can
And
feel
now
the
here
romantic tension.
I've got a hard on right now.
I've been rock hard this whole conversation.
That's how I'm holding the mic up.
So, Sean, you felt compelled to come on this episode, and I know you also had a topic that you were bringing along with this, which is related to the dad brain, right? It's today's conversation for our viewing audience now hitting that 6-minute mark, right? This is that drop-off point that Matt was saying for our episodes. People usually watch like,
guys, it gets better.
Keep listening right now, okay? So we're going to be talking about finances, right? So the idea of just financial freedom, investing, different strategies that Sean has to bestow upon us. I think this is going to be a great conversation.
And I think we're going to touch on some basic stuff too. Like one, not everybody is doing like amazing stuff. Like you keep hearing about all these internet personalities who, they're working 3 different McDonald's, yet they somehow have saved up like $500,000 to buy a bunch of properties. That ain't the norm, and it probably isn't true either, guys. So don't be coming into this thinking that, we're going to leave you thinking you should be doing better. But we are going to talk about how, as you become a parent, as you become a dad, that Chuck E. Cheese money means a lot. So, we think about it more, and you start making, better decisions.
It's like the that show where the couples like buy or flip wherever that show is, and they're like our budget's $1 million. My husband breeds salamanders and I sharpen pencils.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
We actually have a mutual friend like that. Remember they what's his? You went to
went
to high school with him. He his company on Facebook was for knife sharpening.
Oh God.
James.
Oh great.
You remember?
Yeah.
There's a big market for that. There's a dude at the farmer's market over here who does sharpen knives, and
maybe it wasn't a joke. Maybe actually he was doing it.
Does he live in a mansion?
I'm telling you, dude. Like, there's a lot of business there. It doesn't take long to do it, from what I see from an outsider's perspective. He probably charges like $20-$25, doing probably 10 knives an hour on the conservative side. I'm not good at math, but money.
Well,
Rich. Jesus Christ.
Sean, I think you're the most prepared one of us for this, which is a common theme. You're a very financially prepared guy, too. So I'm going to let you kind of, take the lead here. Bring it up. You have a bunch of stuff you want to talk about. That's why you reached out to us to do this episode. So we're going to let you kind of run with it for a minute here.
It's risky. So kind of like the last time I was here, just stuff that like racks the brain, right? I find myself, since my first job, like finding some level of success, which was selling Range Rovers. You make a sum of money, doesn't matter the number, and you find yourself wondering, like, is that good? Am I successful? Where am I amongst my peers? And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just something that I think about. Maybe it's something that many people think about. But I find it interesting. Like, I'll be at the gym sometimes and be like, almost wondering, like, wouldn't it be cool if people had like a bubble above their head that like showed how much money they're worth or what they make a year? Because it's like so secretive, and that's fine, right? We don't need to share what we make, but it's like, and we'll get into the school systems, but like we're brought up, and like depending on your parents and how they raised you and what they taught you, like it's, and especially in today's times where people can make, look at Whistling Diesel with his YouTube channel where he just destroys expensive things. Guy's worth millions and millions of dollars, and it's almost ruined like the whole structure of like where you should be at in life, right? So like I think back when I first started selling Range Rovers my second year in, I think I did like $94,000, which was a lot of money. I was like 27 years old, right? And even then, like I felt almost inadequate, right? Because I'm in Birmingham, Michigan. I'm seeing people my age or younger driving more expensive cars. And of course, like all things in life, you don't know the full picture, right? Do they live in their mom's basement? Did daddy pay for it? But I just find it to be such a fascinating topic because nobody talks about it. When I say nobody, I mean the majority of parents. I don't think it's something that they're super mindful of when raising their children, but primarily the school systems, the public school systems, which, for the record, I'm going to say right now that I'm not giving financial advice during this episode on any level. And secondly, that I support teachers through and through. I think they're the most underpaid, undervalued people out there. Having said all that, it's not really on the teachers, it's on the system. And the system is failing. It failed us, it's failing the future. It's going to continue to do that because it was established in like the early 1900s, and very little has changed over the course of history. So I was talking to Matt, and I just said, nobody talks about money, so that's something that you guys should talk about, because you guys are talking to, young people that are thinking about having kids or having kids, have kids in their 30s. And I think for the most part, people at that age group were raised in and around the time that I was raised, and it wasn't taught to us. I mean, when I was, I'm an 80s baby, so, people were balancing checkbooks. I think they taught that shit in public school. They didn't.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of the premise of the conversation here, is just finances. And of course we can get into where's a good place to put your money. And again, not financially advising anybody, what I do, what I don't do. However, I just find it very interesting that even today, I've had a very successful career in commercial real estate. I had a year that was outstanding, and even today, I often feel like I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
So what is enough? How much money should you have in your checking account, your savings account? Does anybody have any idea what that number looks like? I know what the average is. And
I think what you're saying, Sean, and it's super relevant to this audience, and I'm just speaking for myself, but when I didn't have financial freedom, I never felt adequate enough to become a dad, because I knew that I was going to have not only my wife depending on me, but also a little child. And for me, it was never really about a number. There was a lot of that comparison that you're kind of speaking of. And like you said, it's shrouded in mystery, right? Even at the corporate level, I don't know what my coworkers make. I don't know what people who do the similar job to me make. So it makes things like negotiating salary a fucking nightmare. And
by design.
Also, it really is. But not only is it
be a chess game, but it is.
But not only is it a nightmare to negotiate a higher salary, but also understanding what is this number that I'm negotiating for? Why is that the number? But yeah, I think this. Yeah.
When it comes to negotiating salary, one thing I've learned is never be afraid to ask for more, because one, if the person you're asking more from gets offended, then you're asking the wrong person. That means they negotiated too low, and that's why they're offended. Otherwise, they shouldn't be offended if you're asking more, because it doesn't hurt to tell somebody, no, we're not going to pay you more. But if they act offended that you're asking for more, that's their own problem.
Yeah.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up, and not something that I plan to talk on, but something that I'm actually quite passionate about, and not to pat myself on the back, but quite good at. If nothing else, I am good at leveraging my position. So I talked to my wife about this, not to say that she's not good at this, but the conversation we have often is never stay in your lane. If you're good at what you do and you're a value add to your company, you're just making the company more rich, right? Which is a topic we will get into later here. But you're working for a corporate company. You go to work every day. You clock in, you clock out, whatever the case may be. And you're taking your nominal 5-10% raises year over year, and you're staying in your lane. It's a fool's errand in today's world. There's a shortage of workforce. And if you're not one of the lazy, I hate to say it, millennials, or whatever the case may be, if you're good at what you do, you need to go out there, update your resume, go talk to people, take meetings, okay? Hire a recruiter, which is the most lazy, hands-off approach. It takes no effort whatsoever other than updating a resume. Get it to a recruiter. Take a meeting, take 2 meetings, okay? You're not cheating on anybody. You do that, get an offer, go back to your current company. I don't care if it's truthful or not. You say, hey, I like it here. I've talked to so-and-so, or, don't give specifics, but, this is what I'm being offered. I really like it here. I prefer not to leave, but I have a family to feed, and this is this is hard to turn around and see what they do. I've been paid $20,000 to stay up to 6 figures just by doing that. I received not that long ago a 6-figure bonus from literally taking a 30-minute happy hour meeting with someone and talking about an opportunity.
Yeah.
30 minutes of my time netted me that kind of money by doing that. And it's just something in today's world. Like, I don't know if people feel dirty about it, if they're lazy about it. I hate to say it, there's no excuse. If you're working hard and you're adding value and you're not doing that, you're shortchanging yourself. More importantly, you're shortchanging your family.
I think a best practice is, like you said, updating your resume, right? Like, think about going to the gym. Like, if you're making accomplishments in the gym, you need to be documenting those, and you're documenting them through what you look like. But at your job, like, it's updating your resume. It's also interviewing consistently, even while you have a job that you're happy at. I think there's no risk to that at all, because interviewing is a game. Okay. I call it, I read this really informative book when I made my career transition, and they used a not so PC term called sugar dicking, which is basically where you are going into an interview and you're telling those people exactly what they want to hear and how you are going to deliver that to them. That is called sugar dicking. And I'm here to tell you that even when I accepted my current position, I was still interviewing even after I had accepted that, and I received offers just from sugar dicking. But it takes that time, it takes that research, and you're able to do things like what you're talking about, Sean, where you're able to level up. Because the only way to really level up is not, it's unfortunate, but it's not staying with your current company. It's jumping. It's doing those different jumps. I forgot what it's called. Yeah.
So in my career, and I've been fortunate enough where I've been able to move up at the same company that I've been at consistently. And, part of that is there is being honest that, hey, there's other companies out there that want me too, that reach out to me, that I don't have to call them, if I want to, and whether I want to, and I could move to different states and, I have people trying to actively get me. So I use that to my advantage. That you use that as a springboard. But I mean, the big thing is, and I tell everybody this, never make a lateral move. You never move laterally. You always move up.
Do you want to explain that to the audience a little bit more? So you're saying, like, what does a lateral move look like for?
Never go somewhere and do the same thing you're already doing for the same amount of money.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep. It's so true. But I think also once you have negotiated, correctly, and you've kind of reached that point where you're making good money, then it really becomes about saving, right? And from someone that was living paycheck to paycheck for a majority of my adult life, now being able to actually like save money, I'm really interested in what you have to say about this, Sean, because I think what I'm doing with saving right now, and this is the Dad Brain podcast, we're extremely transparent. I mean, it's literally just setting aside a certain portion or amount of my paycheck that go to different things. Our big thing right now is we're trying to save for a home. Now, I have a goal that we're going to reach by about 2.5 to 3 years, just from doing a weekly transfer from my checking account to my savings account and not touching it.
Wait, you're talking about budgeting?
I'm talking about budgeting.
Another one of those things that they don't that wasn't part of the curriculum, which I say that joking because I actually was fortunate enough in high school to where when I went to a technical school as part of my high school career, and there was a huge portion which was about budgeting, tax math, like they taught you how to do taxes, like all that stuff. And part of that technical school was going, a lot of it was going into like learning blue collar trades. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that in that type of educational environment, they wanted to teach, basic budgeting, basic tax math, stuff like that. Whereas when you went to regular high school, they didn't care. They're like, oh, you're all going to be doctors or rich poets or authors or whatever, and not have to worry about budgeting. And I can tell you right now, liberal arts is a great thing, but they need to treat it the same way as, you treat, blue collar type of education or the trades, which I'm not in the trades. And again, proof that you don't have to have, an esteemed education to be successful in life. And it's not even about hard work. Like you can always profit off of yourself, and you got to remember that.
I mean, that it's interesting to hear that you learned that, and I think I commend the school that taught you that. But for most people, it's just standard schooling. And standard schooling, again, kind of, early 1900s, a lot of it started in Prussia. I read up on this not that long ago. And, everything from the standardized testings to the bells signaling it's time. It's okay for you to get up and move to your next task, classroom, whatever. The uniforms, avoiding problem solving or thinking on your own. It was really about, just being obedient, and they were raising soldiers. And then you fast forward to, United States and the schooling system there, and we traded soldiers for employees. Yeah. We are literally teaching kids in our school system how to not think for themselves, how to not be an entrepreneur, how to not be a merchant, how to be a good little employee.
How to not ask for more money. Like
all of it.
You don't ask, you don't question authority. You don't question the people ahead of you in that environment.
The obedience aspect. Yeah. It's not that, and listen, I'm not shitting on the people that are employees. It's fine. But at the end of the day, if you work your whole life being an employee to make somebody else rich, then you retire and you die. And you're too old to enjoy the money that you accumulated because it takes that long to make it. And we are breeding this in today's school systems, which, again, as a new dad, prevalent to this whole, show's premise, is that my kid's going to private school simply for the fact that I want her to think outside the box. I want my kid to learn how to think, problem solve, think for themselves, and to, kind of get that entrepreneurial mindset, which I don't think exists in today's school systems. And, correct me if I'm wrong, boys.
I want to add two things. Sorry, Matt, can I just add?
Yeah, go ahead.
So going back to what you were saying about the schooling system. So as a former educator, the research that you probably unraveled is that the schooling system is modeled after the prison system, right? Uniforms, bells, obedience. It's a dead ringer. There's going out in the yard.
Hey, minus the showers, right?
Yeah. Very good, Matthew. Very good. But as a former educator as well, I want to respectfully disagree to a point, because now what I found, and maybe it was just from what I was teaching at that time, which, was a video production class, everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Everybody wants to bootstrap their own thing. They want to be creators. And
we out here doing it.
Yeah, that's right. But no, I think that what you're saying is true, but I also do see this kind of groundswell of kids looking at someone like a Mr. Beast, right? Mm-hmm. And saying like, I can do that. I have great ideas. And they have the platforms. They have so much more. I feel like such a boomer saying this, right? But just in terms of like distributing their ideas, it's so much easier for kids nowadays to put a video on their phone and get 20 million views. Like anybody can do that, including those kids in the schools.
Well, not anybody can get 20 million views, but
well, yeah, respectfully, I agree, and just I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. You're not wrong, right? And you lived it, you saw it, but I think it's a little bit biased, right? Because you were in the creative arts program.
Yeah.
And so you taught that, you saw that, and I commend you for that. But I'm just talking more along the lines of like, what are the staple programs and like the other aspects of the school, right? That's more along the lines. And honestly, like I love to see and hear that. One of the greatest parts of my job, and listen, there's ups and downs, right? But I basically work for myself in many ways. I'm 1099, commercial real estate, is that I have the freedom. If I want to go on the boat on Wednesday at 12 o'clock, I'm just answering to my wife at that point. which typically isn't great.
The
but,
real boss.
Yeah, the real boss. But I can do what I want. You get back what you put in. But, having that flexibility is invaluable.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you were just saying about schooling. And I think it's just like for new dads, right? Like for everybody who's in our position, it's really like, what does the future of schooling actually look like, right? Is college really going to be as prevalent as it was for us? Is that going to be the end goal? Is higher education going to become a thing of the past in 20 years? Because you look at things like ChatGPT, right? Like generative AI that can, teach these kids how to do things and then also do it for them. And there's really no way to discern between the two. So it's like, what is education actually going to look like for the kids that we are raising?
Well, the other thing is, there was, in our generation, there was such a surplus, and I don't want to say like the market was saturated because it's not a market, but I mean, college kind of is a market, was saturated with undergrads and graduates too, with so many people that went to college. It's like everybody has higher education at this point.
Yeah.
But it's not in things that are basic necessities to society either.
I just hope it gets to the point, Matt, where just from like applying for jobs and stuff, where that bar to entry is taken away. And I think it's starting to happen a little bit where people aren't being required to have a degree. And it's really just becomes like, do you understand the skills that you're going to be asked to perform, right? Like, nobody asked me about my college degree.
in my career, it's going away. It's now,
is it? Yeah.
And this, even at the corporate levels and the higher levels, it's becoming more of, do you have the real world experience in this field? Which again, that's something I've been able to get a niche on because I've spent 12 years in my field.
Yeah.
And I've done, as far as it goes, I've done almost every job that there is to do there. So I understand it from a grassroots perspective. So that's a huge bonus. Like, you're not hiring management at dealerships and stuff like that, or even at, the corporate level, people straight out of college. Maybe you have interns and stuff like that, but you're not looking for that. You're looking for people that really know what they're doing, that have, they've tested all the theories. They know what works.
Yeah.
I admittedly did not finish college. I went to Oakland University for 2 years, of which 1.5 years of that were spent smoking weed in the parking lot. And I will tell you that I've gotten to where I am, like from every single interview, every single job, every step of the way, from my personality and how I conduct myself in an interview. I've been asked about a degree. It's been on all of the applications. It's never stopped me. And this goes back, 15 years.
Yeah.
So I will say that, I think to both of your points, like, yeah, some companies probably still, require them. And I think eventually we're going to see that, look at it as a little bit silly.
We're not saying it doesn't help. Like when you were applying for these jobs, you were tapping me for as much information as you could, I think.
Yeah.
And hopefully I gave you good advice. And, you springboarded from education to a totally different career line. And I told you to use your college degree as, an example of, one, work ethic, but two, that you're malleable. You can do so many different things with it. Which unfortunately a lot of people don't do that. They expect to get that degree and just to get a job in that field or to be handed the job, which it doesn't happen. And it's becoming less and less important, which is sad for a lot of people who, were pushed into doing it.
So some quick stats that I find intriguing. 61% of Americans live check to check. 61%. 68% of Americans can cover an unexpected $400 expense with cash. Okay?
Unreal.
60% of Americans have a 3-month emergency fund. So when you're talking about college or healthcare or all those things, and you think about the bulk majority of our country can't handle a $400 unexpected expense, we need to learn from this. Nobody's talking about it. These are true stats. Like, inflation is crazy. Like, the house values have increased exponentially, while like salary increases are a small fraction of that. So we have to get smarter with our money. Matt Matt, how you talked earlier about saving, and listen, admittedly, I'm kind of guilty of this. I have a lot of money sitting in a checking and saving account. The problem with that is they literally make fuck all on interest. Yep. There's none. I think the stat is like you'd have to live to be like 200 years old to make any kind of real money off those accounts. Like you need to invest. And me, obviously coming from the real estate world, I'm not big on stocks. Like they go up and down. There's really no rhyme or reason. They're not cyclical. Whereas in like real estate, like, and I can only speak to commercial, it's cyclical. Like if you can hold on to the carrying costs and the market goes down and interest rates go up and, it all shifts and everything comes back up. So, real estate's a really good place to put your money, but you got to plan for all this stuff and you got to put your money to work for you. And, if you don't have, in my personal opinion, a 6-month reserve to live exactly how you live now, you're in bad shape. And I'm not trying to scare anybody or make anybody feel bad, more or less trying to tell you, like, make some changes to change that, because you need to have, me, if I'm under a year reserve, I start to get like sweats. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I get weird about the numbers.
And we're not trying to say that the changes you have to make more money. That's a great option. If you can do it, do it. And we already talked. I mean, it's somewhat difficult, especially when pay gap is all behind closed doors, and there's a stigma to asking about it. But that could also mean you make change in your lifestyle to where the money you have will float your lifestyle for longer. That's an option too. Like
there could be little changes.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's not. I'm not saying you need to make more money. What we're saying is you can lower your expenses. You can lower all your trivial bullshit.
Do you know what it takes? It takes a level of honesty with yourself. When you are in those positions where you're spending money and you've outlined your goals. My wife and I recently did this. We outlined our goals. They're on our fridge. We look at them every single day. And we look at the actions that we take on a daily basis. Some of them are financial. And we say, is that going to help us reach this goal? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't fucking do it. And one of the things that we did is cleared out all of our debt, because you don't want to start saving money while you still have debt, right? So
21% interest on your Visa.
Right. Yeah. No, it's stupid. So you can't be serious about saving money until all of that is taken care of. And luckily we're in a position where we can do that. But whether you are, in a place where you kind of have that extra money, pay off your debt. This is not financial advice, but you need to pay off your debt.
It's common sense.
Yeah. But a lot of people, the reason they're in those situations where they have $400 liquid to pay for someone rear-ending them is because they have, like Sean said, extremely high interest credit card debt for shit that they probably don't even remember buying.
An example of what kind of spurred my idea to talk about this stuff is like, my dad's awesome, great father, never really talked about this kind of stuff. My Uncle George has always been like a second father. And he's big on toys, RVs, boats, motorcycles. I had just had the biggest year of my career, made a ton of money, and I wanted to buy a boat. And I'm like, can I afford this? I literally had no idea. I was sitting in my living room. My wife didn't know, so I wasn't really talking to her in depth about that aspect of it. But I'm like, can I afford it? I don't know. At what point can you afford to buy this or that? Again, like, it's not something that's in a book you can open up and say, okay, if you made $200,000 and you want to buy a $50,000 toy, it's okay. You feel kind of uneasy about it. So I called my Uncle George. I'm like, hey, this is how much I have sitting in my account. This is the interest rate. This is what the payment's going to be. And he's like, yeah, you can afford that. Go buy it. The interest rate was good at the time. And, I formulated a rule from that point, and I think it's good. And again, one more time, not giving financial advice here. My rule is always, if you can afford to pay for it cash, it's okay to finance. And that's not the case with houses, obviously, or sometimes even cars. Like if you're looking at like buying a dirt bike or a boat or a four-wheeler, you get the drift from here. I don't want to keep going. If you can afford to pay for it cash and the interest rates make sense, it's got to make some level of sense. Otherwise, you're paying so much interest over the term. It's okay to buy. Now, if you can't afford, even remotely close to afford it, paying cash or even a percentage of it, just because you can finance it doesn't mean you should. And that's something that a lot of Americans fail at.
One thing that you said, Sean, is you had role models in your life that you can go to when it comes to finances or just for that advice. And I think it's extremely important to have those people to be the objective third party sometimes, right? My mom came to visit us and help us with my daughter, and she set us straight on a lot of things, and I'm extremely grateful for
Love
that.
it.
My mom has helped me so many times where she's like, just where when I was living paycheck to paycheck and I got a little underwater, like she helped me, she paid me off. But after that point, it was like, I'm going to do this for you one time, but this has to be a learning lesson. But then she comes and visit us, and she knows she's looking at X, Y, and Z, and she's like asking questions. And if you're faced with those questions and you don't have the answers, then you know right there that you did not make a sound financial decision. And you just have to be ready to accept that information and learn from it. And that's what we're doing now. We're learning from it. And we're holding each other accountable. For someone that is in the position of being a new dad, they're at the point where they're making a little bit of money, what would be like the top 3 things that someone in that position should do in terms of their financial well-being?
Great question. So, I mean, just again, I'm not going to use the word advice. It's dangerous territory. I don't want to get sued.
None of us are CPAs.
Yeah, none of us are CPAs, but you can have $100,000 in the bank and you are fucked in this country if you don't have good credit. So the first thing, like my first non-advice, would be to make sure you are maintaining your credit health. Like pay off debt, pay your bills on time, open credit cards, not too many. It's debt to income ratio. So if you make 30 grand and you have an open line of credit of 30 grand, you are fucked. So, you know, again, the most important thing in this country, and again, well, I'm going to open up a credit card in my daughter's name as soon as I possibly can as a co-signer or an authorized user, is to build her credit. It's so important in this country. In fact, you can't function without it. So build and establish and maintain good credit, okay? Which also...
Not to cut you off, but that was a huge thing when Amanda and I first started dating. When I realized that we were probably going to be in it for the long haul, she had a POS old car. I was like, we need to lease you a car. She's like, she didn't have any credit at the time. You know, she was just graduated from Western. I was like, I'll co-sign with you. You're going to make all the payments. That's going to help your credit. We've done that with 2 cars, you know, and we've opened credit cards together. And most of the time we don't ever carry a balance on them, or we put enough on it every month to keep it working for her, to show usage and to build that credit history. And now she got to prove the lowest rate on her new car by herself, no questions asked.
So even though you did interrupt me, great point, is don't carry a balance. Again, we talked about this. Credit card interest rates are like some of the most highest rates. So if you have $1,000 balance in there and you're making minimum payments, you're fucking yourself. Makes no sense. So don't carry a balance. If you have the money in your account, just pay it off. Never spend. And why I like to pay my credit card off right away is I never spend above my means. I don't look at my credit card as like, and people are so guilty of this. Like, oh, I got 10 grand on my credit card I can spend. Like it's fucking free money. It's not. It's the opposite of that. So like, when I swipe and pay, I in my head it's like a debit card, but with insurance, right? I swipe it to buy airline tickets. It's $1,000. I go to the app. I pay it off out of my checking. I have all the, insurances, assurances of the credit card company. But again, I'm not carrying a balance. In fact, the credit card companies hate me because I'm not paying them any interest.
I was going to
say
that.
And that's the hack. If you can afford to do it, that's the hack. Fuck it to the man. Pay your cards off right away. Pay no interest. You get all the benefits. Like I call Amex, and we're going to Isla Mirada in the Keys. I want to go scuba diving, and the Platinum Hotline. Like they'll arrange everything for you. I get all the amenities, and I get them nothing back. And it's one of the greatest things you can do.
And that being said, if you're carrying a zero balance, don't close your credit cards. They are also great
It's good advice.
In case of an emergency. You know, obviously you've got money saved up and stuff like that, but in case of an emergency, it is nice having, you know, an unlimited amount on your Amex or $30,000 or whatever. You know, it's not wrong to think of it as, and I'm talking big emergencies.
Other thing, and my last thing is don't, again, I already talked about this, but don't finance things you cannot afford. And I'm not going to drop names, but I have several friends in my arsenal that are guilty of this. Like they go out and they're like, oh, the salesman's like, hey, you know, this thing's 24 grand, but it's really only $200 a month. They're like, sign me up. Like that is a fool's errand. Okay, look at it for the long haul because you don't know what the economy is going to do. If you're going to get stuck underwater with this thing, got to stay liquid. So, like, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. You know, when you're in your 30s, you need to look at it like you are halfway to retirement. Whether it's an accurate statement or not, that's the mentality you need to carry every single day. You're halfway to retirement because you don't want to be in a situation where you've saved up, let's call it, and it's not even enough today, but let's say you saved up $1 million, okay? And now you're 80 years old. You can't even fucking enjoy it. You're 80 years old. So, like, you want to enjoy, you know, your life and all that stuff. So, like, if you start planning now, like, you're halfway to retirement and you're well above the threshold of where you need to be by the time you're 60 or 70 years old, okay, halfway from your 30s, then, you know, you're going to be in a position where you can enjoy the money and the financial freedom. Otherwise, like, it's all for naught, you know?
And I know we didn't really get into specifics with like investing and stuff. I think that's for another conversation. But one thing I will say, I had a lot of money floating around from different employers that was doing fuck all, because those people that are investing your money, they don't really pay attention to where they're investing it. So I was actually losing money. So now I've rolled everything over into my employers. Always do your employee match if you have that available to you. That's free money, no brainer. And then 80% should be in conservative funds. ETFs are great. And then that, if you're feeling comfortable with it, 20% should be some of those aggressive ones, because what you're saying, Sean, is the age to retire now is like what, like 65 or something. My parents are in this position, and my parents are some of the most financially sound people I've ever met. I don't want to have to be in that position when I'm 65 and I have this money. Like, when I told my financial investor, like, I want to be retired by 55, and they're like, all right, then we need to be a little bit aggressive. And I was like, all right, well, let's be a little bit aggressive. One other thing,
money don't make money, right?
That's right. One other thing I would say is $6,500 towards a Roth IRA. Pay the taxes up front for it. You don't have to pay the taxes when you have that money out once you actually do retire. So
CDs are paying 5%. You know,
But guys, that comes back to that flex spending account that I was talking about.
FSA
if
or
you
HSA?
don't use it, I think it's the FSA. If you don't use it, it rolls over. It rolls over into your IRA.
And it does have a max contribution per year, though, correct?
Yes. But
money in your checking
not
account.
And that's pre-tax money. There are programs out there that are sponsored by the government, and your employer has to pay into them. That even if you have the worst employer, there are options for you that, you know, you can use this. You don't have to make a ton of money, and you can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Smart.
And the financial well-being is just recognizing that it's not just about you and your partner. It's also about your children now, right? And they don't have a say in what you do. So
Everything.
You need to be the responsible party. And we talk a lot about a lot of irresponsible things on this podcast. But if there's one area in your life where you need to be responsible, it is with your finances.
You're dependent. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
And start now. I mean, we all were dumbasses until we turned 33. You know, we're all guilty of that.
Oh my God.
We're all guilty of that. Everybody here is guilty of being irresponsible. But there's time. Matt, you're doing a great job considering that you're changing diapers and editing video at the same time, and your co-host is a piece of shit and doesn't contribute anything other than stellar guests.
Yeah, but one thing I just wanted to say is, like, if you are watching this, make sure that you're liking, subscribing, commenting. Those little things help. all of our social media handles at Dad Brain Pod. We got new episodes going up every Monday morning. We got the James episode going up this coming Monday. Looking forward to sharing that conversation. But Sean, golden ticket, man. Like anytime you want to be on the show, and yeah,
we're giving you a mic. You're leaving here with a mic, dude.
Yeah,
We're
I'd
setting
be
you up.
honored or disturbed.
Honored. We're setting you up. You want to? If we tell you we're interviewing somebody, you want to be a call-in, we will call
Trying to
you
get
in.
like a smoker's voice for the call-in. Like, hey, this is Sean.
Well, thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Dad Brain Pod. This is Matthew. I think that's what we're going by now. Matthew and Matt L. and Sean J. We'll see you later, guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Dad Brain. New episodes come out every Sunday. Don't miss any. Subscribe today wherever you listen to podcasts. While you are there, help spread the word about Dad Brain by leaving a rating and review. Can't get enough Dad Brain? Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Dad Brain Pod.